Everybody didn't know how much came off. I was
It
driving
came down.
Lapel. Came back from. Yeah, basically Lapel.
Yeah, it was.
We're down this way somewhere, and I was driving back there.
We sat on the front porch, me and my kids did, and there was a little dog that got scared and was running through on Broadway. And then I guess the dog was from Pearl Street, and then its owners were like running in the pouring down rain, like chasing after this dog. And we were like, he went that way. And then you could just tell they were just over it, you know?
That is terrible.
Yes.
Aw.
They were so drenched, those poor people.
I washed our husky. I posted some pictures online. It looked like a possum, man. It was so
Aw.
bad. She looks healthy and big, you know. And you pet her, you can feel she's smaller and skinny. All the fuzz sticks out. And she just looked miserable when I washed her. But now it loosened up all that undercoat. I didn't have a shedding problem until I washed her. Oh my.
Oh, wow.
I've been brushing her out, And yeah.
Probably like a whole other dog.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Third time through, I still got a pile of nothing with that.
Wow.
And now she looks skinnier because of the brushing.
Mm-hmm. How's work been for you, Sammy?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Yeah, because now, at first it was a little slower because there weren't many patients going to the hospital since all the doctors were telling everybody to stay home. Don't even go to the ER unless it's a true
Oh, I didn't even
emergency.
think about that. Yeah.
ER traffic slowed down, didn't it?
It slowed down a lot.
From the silly people.
Yes, so our referrals slowed down a little bit. But then we've just gotten bombarded.
Oh, I
Like when
bet.
phase 2, we went into phase 2, it's like it opened the floodgates. So we've been slammed.
Which one are you at?
I actually work for Kindred at Home. I'm an RN case manager.
Oh.
So I go to people's homes and I do admissions. I admit them to home care.
Oh, wow.
So if we're not getting people, if there's no referrals from the hospitals or the nursing homes, we don't get patients. So, and there was such a tight lockdown on the COVID patients, you know what I'm saying? So nobody was releasing anybody. It was, if you're in the hospital and you got COVID, you're staying in the hospital. They didn't want to do what Washington State did and release them to the nursing home and then have all these nursing homes with everybody dying.
Our nursing home thing has kind of calmed down, hasn't it?
As far as I know.
Oh, yes, in the
Okay.
state.
We had an
Yes.
initial explosion, right? You know, and
It-
even Somerville. And
I think they
that's a whole
realized restricting the traffic because even some of the ALFs, assisted living facilities that some of our clinicians go to were on major lockdown. And unless it was medically necessary, they weren't letting people go in.
It's just so interesting, the stuff that you don't think about on how it's impacted. You know, just hearing from your point of view on what you're seeing now, and it's like, wow.
It is
The ripple
it is
effect.
Definitely a different animal for sure. Hello, how are you?
Good. Have we met?
I'm Sam.
Okay, hi Sam. Have we met?
No.
Okay, I'm Scott Reski. I'm the new.
No,
town
you look,
guy.
it's your face. I recognize your face. Yes. Okay, we'll do that. Good to meet you finally.
Good to meet you.
Thank you. Your face looked familiar. So I'm like, I don't forget a face.
Sam, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
I can't believe we haven't met.
No, me neither.
I think maybe one time
It's a good
you
thing
were
we're
with
not knocking the
Mark.
door down right
You and
now after this last week.
I know, I'm actually surprised.
You
I
are
assumed
exactly
we would
right.
get some.
You were exactly right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so.
Yes. Your face was very, very familiar. I don't forget faces. Names, sometimes I have to forget.
I didn't know. I saw the notice on the door for masks.
Are we zooming?
We are zooming.
So if we're zooming, we gotta.
Yeah.
Well, we're always zooming. I mean,
Are we live yet?
I think I've got Kyle Eichhorn. Kyle Eichhorn is doing a Zoom tonight.
Oh, he is doing the Zoom.
Yes. And then let me just get my screen shared, and then Kyle can go ahead and start the meeting.
Oh, yeah. No, somebody told me that about that today. Right. I don't know anything about this. That's something.
That's all right. That's fair.
He told me, I told him to send it. So, and I'll use that to educate myself.
That's fair. If you need anything, I'm happy to send any.
Hi, Kyle.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good.
I'm so hot.
I just pulled up the agenda, or I pulled up your presentation, so I've got a
Good.
agenda here. So
Okay.
I guess, are we ready to start or?
Yep, it's 6 o'clock. We can go ahead and get started.
All right, I'll go ahead and call to order this July 1st, 2020 Board of Stormwater Management meeting. And I guess we could do you want to just announce each member's name and we'll say here? Do
Sure.
it that way? Or?
Sam Thatcher,
Hello, I'm here.
Kyle Eichhorn,
Here?
and then Jerry Kelly is not present tonight. He was out of town. So
Okay, all right, well, we have a quorum. And so we have minutes from the previous meeting. They're on the presentation, it looks like, so we can review those and then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I think I've read through them.
which it wasn't. We met in June.
Yes.
If you want to make a motion.
Absolutely. I couldn't hear if Kyle said.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
Okay,
if we have a
I'll make
motion.
a motion to approve the minutes from the June
Okay.
1st meeting, or June 13th,
Motion.
I apologize.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, meetings are approved. And so we are on to old business. Item A, stormwater user rate update.
Yes. Sorry, I'm going to take my mask off. So this meeting, I would like to introduce our new town managers here tonight. Scott Reske joined us today. Is his first official day. So part of this meeting, I think, is kind of acclimating him to some of our projects as well. So this past month, or at our June meeting, we did give you guys the documents that we had in regards to that stormwater rate study that we had done in 2018. And you know, that packet included the rate analysis, the top 20 non-residential users, and then the potential monthly fees. And then there was an addendum as part of that too. And what we were going to talk about tonight was just, you know, how we wanted to move forward with that, which, you know, again, with having Scott on board now, you know, we may want to give him some time to digest the study that had been done too, and really be able to give him some time to wrap his mind around, you know, the projects and the things that we have going on too. So, but if you guys did take the time to review it, you know, if you guys have any thoughts you want to share on it, or ideas on, you know, what we want to do to get things moving forward, then that's, I guess, time now for us to discuss and talk about that.
Yeah,
Great.
I guess it makes sense to give Scott a chance to get up to speed.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree. I think his input, yeah, I think his input would be valuable, so.
Yes, and Scott will be, I guess, the staff member that will be working directly with this board rather than me being here. Of course, I'm here for staff support with anything, but Scott will really be leading the charge on this board in particular. So really being able to give him some time, you know, to really take a deeper dive into what's been done and what steps we need to take in the future would be really, I think, in our best interest. So we all know, you know, it needs to get done. It's just really going to be what direction do we want to go? You know, who do we want to hire to move it forward and that sort of thing. Really getting a game plan together on when this eventually ends up at the council so we can get a rate adopted and start
And I
collecting.
think as specific as we can be without too many loose ends when we do it, I think would be much better instead of trying to hurry and rush through something.
Agreed.
I don't want to do that.
No. And I think a public education component as part of all this is going to be essential.
Agreed.
You know, I think one good thing in our favor is that there's a lot of visible projects that need to be worked on that will make this an easier sell for us. But it's still, anytime you add a fee to a utility bill, that does become a sometimes controversial thing. So we'll just need to be very mindful of how we move forward with all this.
Baby steps.
Exactly. All right. Well, we'll give Scott some time to review.
Okay, so we want to go ahead and move on to the mapping update.
Yes. Okay, just so we can catch Scott up to speed on this too. We had 2 phases of mapping that we worked on with Banning engineers. The first, phase 1 was completed last year and included the following. There was a GIS field mapping services for stormwater contract. It completed about 50% of our entire inventorying and / mapping process. And I can even click on this link and I can kind of show everyone.
Is that a public map or is that just for?
This is just for us. If it wants to pop up for us. It's not working for me today. Yep. So this is what we have currently. And I believe in June when we met, we talked to you guys about how we have about a $25,000 contract with Banning right now to map out where the lines actually lie. Of course, that's a little bit more difficult because it's underground. Everything that's mapped right now that we can see is all surface stuff. So what we talked about with Banning was looking at what we could do in-house so we could try to save some money. So Cookie has been working with Banning and a company called Mason to start looking at, you know, where these lines are located. And we had around 3 areas in town that are kind of our high priority focus areas right now. One is, you know, Water Street by the park where the new parking lot is going to go. Another area is the old lumberyard area in Main Street, has major issues. And I'll let Cookie give an update on what they found recently this week, actually. And then our third area is Broadway Fire Station.
Broadway Fire, but that should help. The Water Street project should help with
Yes.
Broadway,
Yeah.
because then will be lines that'll be updated, and it's taking the water out to the outfalls is what we gotta achieve, and that will help once we put that new line in
Yes.
down along the railroad bed.
So basically Cookie and staff are going to be looking at, you know, how we connect all these dots that are on the map and where these lines go. And we can do some of that in-house, and some of it we will still have to contract out to, you know, have someone map for us, just because we are not completely capable of mapping all of it because of the way that lines go underneath the ground sometimes. So we have some equipment that can help with that, but it's not going to be able to map everything for us. So we're moving forward on that, which is good stuff. I will turn it over to Cook right now because he did work with a company called Mason this week.
Private locating.
There you go.
Yeah, Mason Private Locating out of Brownsburg, which Mark Butler from Banning kind of recommended. Any type of work they do, it kind of goes straight to our mapping system, that they can put it straight to our map. The Pendleton Avenue down here by the old PNC and Elm Street, we had a lot of flooding this weekend, but you know, there was a lot of rain. Mason came in, I think it was Friday. They came in and brought a camera. Instead of bringing the jetting truck in and try to clean the lines, he said, let's look at the lines first before trying to charge us, you know, all this other money. Well, Back of Lisa Floyd's house, which is the house off of Elm Street. We got in that. It goes about 2 to 3 foot west, and I think it's 1172. If you look at that map, if you bring it up, it's the inlet there. You go about 2 foot to the west, and then it breaks off and kind of goes north and south. Well, we went 2 foot north, collapsed, and 4 foot south collapsed. So, and we kind of got in the lumber yard. We looked at that, a lot of debris, collapsed. Most of the areas around there was, collapse lines, a lot of debris in them. So we're looking at next. Scott came out with us. What was that? When? Tuesday. Tuesday, and we kind of walked it, looked. Our plan is go down towards the creek off of Madison, and there's a big, well, it's a county, they call it the town of Pendleton drain, and we're going to try to shoot it back up towards northeast and try to come in that way and see how far we can go and see what we can see from there is our next objective, is what we're looking at, to see if it's good so far down through there. But in that first, drains that we looked around PNC, I mean, they're not good. And I do have pictures and videos of all that. So if that's something you guys need, I can send to you to look at.
So did we add to the map like little markers where those collapsed sections are?
Yeah, right now we've got a sketch. We haven't added it yet. I've got a sketch which is on all that I've got that I can send to you and Sam and Jerry. I can send all that to you and let you know what was done right now.
I was just thinking it'd be nice at some point to get it into the GIS so we kind of have a punch list of critical repairs that could be made.
Yeah, we just haven't yet,
Just happened Tuesday.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
So,
But I think that is the game plan.
yeah,
is
that
to get it
game
in
is,
there like that.
they're going to map it and where everything, but that sketch kind of breaks it down. Scott got a copy of it tonight. It kind of shows where everything was at, and like the map when they're doing the Camry, and it shows how far they go in, and like that one that's all collapsed, that's a 15-inch clay tile. No, there's no telling how old it is. So, but yeah, it was. There's no jetting that pipe.
So overall, likely what we're going to be finding is the infrastructure that's in the old downtown area is really going to be probably a mess for us. Being able to get, the stuff in the newer areas is less concerning at this time. But, once we get more information and continue this mapping process and highlighting those problem areas, we'll be able to break it down and do an implementation plan or a capital improvements plan for the infrastructure. And all of that would be very helpful for us when we're working on this stormwater fee. Kind of tie it all together and say, put some costs associated with these projects that we're desperately going to have to work on. So it's coming along, little baby steps still.
Progress.
So
Yep.
yeah, progress for sure, which is exciting. So. All right. I think that's all we have in regards to a mapping update.
Okay. We can move on to the Broadway Water Street project.
Yes.
An update there.
Yes. So Cookie's been very helpful on working with this one too. So I'll kind of start off, and if there's stuff you need to add in, feel free to speak up. But where we kind of are at on this, we do need to obtain an easement from Steve Wills. His property, you can see on that map right there, there's some X's on a line that I'm kind of pointing at here that go right underneath his structure. And, so what Banning has proposed is we get an easement to access his property. There's a manhole there that we would have access to. We would end up capping and filling in the line that goes underneath the structure. We have had an initial conversation with Steve Wills. He has asked us to consider giving him and permission to do some additional structures on the rear of his property, basically stuff we still need to kind of work through. I know on my end of things, we, from the planning perspective and working with Parks Department, need to make sure that it doesn't, what he is asking for doesn't encroach in any future plans for the park on Hollowell Drive, because they just completed their Parks and Recreation Master Plan update and do have some visions of, or some longer range plans of connecting the playground area to the soccer fields. And, you know, we just have to be mindful moving forward if this is something that we want to agree to with Wills, which I'll update you on that too.
I think it's a 30 by 70 foot easement is what, if I remember Mark saying, I think it was 30 by 70 is what easement we need.
Yes. If we are not able to get an easement from Wills or come to an agreement with Steve Wills, there would be an additional cost to our project to go around Steve Wills's property. So that's, you know, always our backup option if we're not able to come to an agreement with Wills. So we will keep
So
you guys.
Is there not an existing storm line north of his building there? That's the new one that you're proposing? There's not one there now?
Not that I'm aware of, no. So that's kind of where we're at. We're waiting on that. We just have to work through that easement stuff with Wills.
Okay.
Mark from Banning was on vacation 1 week, and then we have Scott, you know, now that's on our team. So, you know, there's just been some weird things going on in the past couple weeks where we just want to make sure we're involving the right people and making sure everyone's on board and things like that. So I expect in the next 30 days or so, we'll figure it out, and at our next meeting, let you guys know what the next step is going to be on that project in particular.
That's good.
Yeah, if you hadn't noticed, but Water Street did get some paving done. There were some holes along that street that the street department did go out and patch. And I think a lot of residents were very pleased about that. So you guys have any other questions about this particular project? No?
I have none.
Okay.
Let's go to the sump pump ordinance.
Yes. Which, there we go. Sump pump ordinance update. At our last couple meetings, you know, we've talked about this issue with the sump pumps, and just to help catch Scott up to speed too, a few years ago, the Fall Creek Regional Waste District did discontinue residents from putting stormwater into their system. So we have now been left with a lot of people in the older parts of town that are discharging their stormwater into the streets. And we're running into a lot of issues, especially in the historic area, where that water is getting dumped out onto sidewalks and streets, and it is having increased wear and tear and thawing and heaving of our existing road infrastructure or sidewalk infrastructure. Property owners are supposed to be retaining their own stormwater on site. And in a lot of cases, this is really difficult with the amount of water that we get. The types of rain events that we are having are more often more intense. And so trying to keep that water on site is almost impossible. So what we have talked about as a board is, you know, creating an ordinance, and along with an ordinance, having some type of public education component, and possibly even some type of grant funding or something to look at these properties. You know, for example, or for future properties, we want to prevent this from happening and make sure that when they're building a new home that they are able to retain their stormwater on site. But then for properties that are, you know, have been here forever, how do we address those existing issues that are already happening? So one of the biggest ones that I can think of, there's one on High Street that's already deteriorating the road because of this issue. And then Pearl Street is having the same issue. And there's another one on Broadway, and those areas are wet all the time. You know, and how do we help those homeowners and help fix this problem? So the board, you know, has, just because of our staff transitions that we've been having, we were asking the board to kind of look into some options. And I know we've all been a little stressed with COVID and have had not routine schedules, but I don't want this to fall off of our list of things to do because it's really important.
And those properties that you mentioned, weren't those people here?
Yes.
They were the ones that were here, so we really need to address
Yes.
that. So
Yes.
that's what I just sounded that places.
Yep.
Familiar. Now, didn't we take care of Fox Run?
Yes,
Yes.
We did.
yes, that's taken care of.
Yes. That was not necessarily a storm pump or sump pump issue,
Yeah.
but that was a blockage and it was, our street guys were awesome and they went out and
It went the other direction than what the mapping showed. It didn't go to Foster's Branch, it went the other direction. So we kind of found that and then we fixed it and they've had no problems since. So,
Yes. So no more over there. We just got to worry about the stuff here.
yeah, there's a lot. So we'll just
yes.
try to get trouble areas.
So let's not forget this one. Let's keep it on our radar, and start trying to move something forward with this. And Scott, you may have ideas or whatever that you want to bring to the table on this item
I
in
think it's
particular.
important to let those homeowners know that we're here, that we are working on it, because I know even with COVID, it's been a long time since they were here,
Mhm.
and I don't want them to think that we're not doing anything.
Right.
Everybody I've reached out to, Sam, Kyle, I've kind of went and, I visually stop by and see them and let them know. I want to see them eye to eye. I mean, an email, I can do that, but I'd rather look at them and tell them, hey, we know you got a problem, but
Thank
let's
you.
just make sure, give us time. We're working on it. I just want to see them eye to eye and let them know that I'm doing the best we can. We're going to try to do everything we can for them.
Awesome.
I see there's a ordinance update in here, then.
Yep.
They've kind of, so it looks like we can review plans even if they're less than an acre. I see that highlighted.
I will actually turn this over to Jeremy Van Erman right now. He was with us at
Okay.
our last meeting with Brady from Commonwealth, and
Sure.
he can kind of take a little bit of a deeper dive. This is a project that we've been working on with Commonwealth for a little while.
Okay.
So
Cookie and I are trading places, if that's okay, so everybody can see how we do this here. A quick recap, I think everybody was here at the last meeting, just in case not. A lot of this started after an IDM audit that found a few deficiencies in your current ordinance. And so, and then prior to that also, there was a notice of intent for your annual permit to get renewed and your MS4 permit. We had jumped in and helped the town get in compliance with the permit renewal. That's what started everything. And then had an audit shortly around the same time frame. And so we assisted with reviewing IDEM's audit, and the recommendations that you'll see came back from IDEM that listed some ordinance updates and a few other deficiencies. And so Brady and I had come to the town and met with Rachel and met with Cookie and kind of walked through what you have now, and started to draft some preliminary language to a point where we knew we could take it so far that then would have to stop and pause and get with the board, the attorney, and everybody to look at what we have put together so far and compare notes and compare and contrast and see where we are. We are using somewhat standard language from some other communities, not quite boilerplate. We want to customize it for you. It needs to be for the town of Pendleton. So we're trying to also monitor your development ordinance and all of your guidelines for construction and make sure that these complement each other. So you mentioned, yes, this is essentially for you now to review with Jeff, look it over. Not a big rush, but there is some commitments that have been made to get this passed in order to be in compliance with IDEM. Whether timing is right, we were hoping to time this with all your other ordinance updates and or potentially your rate ordinance. But if it's better to do this ahead of that, again, that's something we'll have to discuss and you guys can give us the guidance on. There was a highlighted item that you had mentioned in there. Was that Kyle that mentioned?
Yeah, less than an acre, because I guess most sites in the historic district are probably less than an acre.
Yeah, this is completely, I left, the yellow highlighted areas are going to be completely up to the town on how they would like to proceed. Over an acre is permit required by the state. Under an acre is up to the community. What I ran into in my previous career paths and helping other communities is your sites an acre and larger have a little more room to spread out the construction activity. And even though they make a mess, there's less tracking out on your local roads. When you get compressed sites of less than an acre, they tend to be, every contractor's on top of each other and everybody's crawling over, and it's just a mud pit. And you tend to have more violations on a less than 1 acre site when it comes to erosion control and runoff than you do sites over an acre. So it's really up to the community. It's a little bit of a gray area with the state because you're not allowed to have polluted runoff, well, polluted meaning silt-laden water, sediment-laden water, leave a site or go through your systems. A lot of times these smaller, less than acre sites contribute a tremendous amount of muddy water during construction. So it's a matter of how you want to manage it internally and how you want it in your ordinance to still provide positive erosion control and no sediment-laden water on these type of projects. So again, that's a long answer for why that's highlighted in yellow. It's something that's optional for the community to review.
Kyle, do you have a preference on that? I'm curious from your point of view.
I mean, I would think, you know, especially with as many sites that would be redeveloped that are less than an acre, that we would want to have some oversight on small sites if we have the ability. I think it's a good idea.
And you can limit, you could pick and choose how much that they do. If you have standard boilerplate for large developments, say a 200 home subdivision, the smaller sites, you could be selective on what measures are required, and even leave it a little bit between Cookie and the developer, the engineer and the town manager to say, okay, you don't need everything here, but you need some silt fence here, you need a little bit of gravel there, you need some socks, you know, or a buffer, check dams.
Yeah, whatever is necessary to prevent tracking and
It's the tracking that gets everybody. That when the cement truck leaves and mud and rocks go all over the drive. Yeah, that's the kicker. So
I guess the only other thing I saw real quick, you had the post-construction discharge rates highlighted. And I know most other places use 0.1, 0.3 for the 10 and 100-year storm. I didn't know if we thought about switching to that to be more consistent, or if we like the 2-year, 10-year like we have now, or if there's an advantage.
The 210 came from your other ordinance to keep it congruent and you know, have some continuity between the two. However, you know, the county's got one standard, other cities and towns in the county have a different standard. Again, this is something completely up to the town.
So I guess the plan would be for us, I guess, as a board and as Scott and everybody to review this and then maybe have comments or suggestions for the next meeting.
Yes.
Does that sound good?
The technical side, obviously, between the board and town manager, you guys might want to hash out before we give it to Jeff. Jeff's going to review from more of the legal enforceability standpoint and applicability. No offense to Mr. Graham, I'm sure he will be happy to not review some of the engineering technical side of things, but just to make sure, again, with Jeff, that this references the other ordinances appropriately that you have.
Do you have this in a Word document that you could maybe put on Google Drive so we can put comments in
Yes,
it and track
I
it?
do.
That would be good.
Yep, I can email you the Word.
Just so we're all working in the same.
Changes or anything that you make, that would really be helpful, I think, for us. I'm sure
Okay.
Kayla and I will take a deeper dive into it too, just from the planning side of things.
Yeah. I did have a quick question that wasn't on the agenda, I guess, if we're done going over this update.
And the only thing left is the MOU that we have with Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District. So can we just flip through that real quick so you know what it is, and then we'll move on to other?
For plan review?
Yes. Yeah, and I'll let Jeremy go ahead and talk about this a little bit too.
This is somewhat ties in with your compliance, but it is a little bit separate. You have a memorandum of understanding with the county to help assist in erosion control and plan review inspections on your sites. You do in your ordinance have, you know, the required pipe size, and if there's retention and detention and the engineering side of things that the developer will work with for plan review here internally, but the overall erosion control and the site inspections that are handled through the county. That MOU had lapsed and was basically outdated, needed updated and signed. And so that's been, I believe, done at this point, right?
Pendleton has signed it. I think Brady was working on getting Madison County Soil and Water Conservation District signature on it.
Sure. So Brandy will sign that on behalf of their board. That's typically who is authorized to sign that. And that takes care of the relationship between the city and town, or or the town and the county. And also when they come to inspect, if there is a problem, if something needs addressed or enforced, then they can get with Cookie, they can get with Rachel, they can get with the town manager, and they can decide what type of enforcement can happen. Again, your ordinance is a little bit weak and soft. That's why your new ordinance here has the updates for enforcement. But things can still be managed in the meantime. And then obviously there's a county partnership Brady spoke to that Pendleton has been part of. And the Soil and Water District is also part of the overall Madison County Stormwater Quality Partnership. And they have quarterly meetings that the communities attend, and we provide updates. And since COVID, those have been put on hold as well. There's a separate MOU you'll probably see later that just commits everyone's involvement for the first two MCM or the MS4 program. But this one, I just don't want them to get confused. You see MOUs, you're going to see them between the two different parties. And one is with the county, it's because it's a group as a whole. This one's specifically with the Conservation District to deal with construction and construction inspection for erosion control compliance.
And even though this agreement had lapsed, Madison County was still coming out and performing inspections for us. So I just don't want it to sound like it wasn't going on. It was, and we were getting reports from Brandy on things. So it was still functioning. We just didn't have it official.
They've been very, very good to work with. And they could provide an update, but I want to let you know that the Brandy and her staff have been going to regular training and have been getting updates and training, so they're certified now. So if there's a question concerned as to maybe the quality of service or level of service you're getting, I've been sending a lot of this information to Cook as well. So they've taken classes and have a multi-state level certification, even though technically there's not a state certification right now. They went and received that training. So I think the town's in good hands.
Jeremy, does anyone have any questions about the MOU?
Nope.
All right. All right. Kyle, you said you had something else to add?
I know at some point we continued the talk on takeover of county drains. I know the Rosa Fry is a big lake out here, so.
I'm sure it is, with the amount of rain that we've gotten in the past few days. That's something likely we'll pick up with Scott being back or being here on board with us. Scott, just to give you some background on that, with the ordinance that we have in place for the stormwater department, one of the things that we can look at is taking over county drains. And so that's something that this board will need to decide if that's in Pendleton's best interest to move forward with a project like that.
What's Kyle's thoughts on it right now?
Kyle, if you didn't hear Scott, he was just asking what your thoughts are on it at this point in time.
Yeah, I mean, we just need to get with I know there's not, those drains don't take in a lot of money. So I guess there's just a couple, Rosa Fry and Foster's Branch maybe. So I guess we need to maybe look at how many properties are affected by those, and from a financial standpoint, whether it makes sense, what kind of benefit can we give the town people who are affected by those, and whether it makes sense, or do we just leave it alone? So I don't know, do we have an analysis of affected parcels by each of those or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of right now. I think one thing to consider too, as we're moving forward with this stormwater department, is, the staffing that would be needed to take over drains like this, or if the intention is for us to hire out instead of doing the work in-house, and I don't know what the right answer for that is. And I mean, I would assume, this board will have a hand in developing that and guiding that. So those are all things to be mindful of. And
yeah, it's if you pick up control, then you also pick up cost. But a lot of those different drains are not collecting money for reconstruction or maintenance. And there's some other drains inside the town limits that need some reconstruction.
right.
Hardy.
There's the Hardy one. There's the one that Cook was talking about, the one that's named Town of Pendleton Drain.
Yeah.
So I think there's more than the two that we had mentioned, Kyle.
Yeah, the in-town ones, I guess.
Yeah. And then we would have to look too, are we gonna just acquire the ones that are completely in town, or how do we work with ones that
Right.
cross?
So I guess quickly, so like there's a lot of rural property that's not within the old town. And so if all those people are going to be paying a stormwater fee, that might be another consideration to whether we need to take those in.
He said that there's a lot of parcels that are, or if the people in the newer parts of town, not the old part of town, are paying into a stormwater fee,
Yeah.
you know, keeping that.
So I guess that's to be continued. We probably need to maybe reach out to Tom and get some more information on the drains and what the accounts look like for each drain. Because I think they were pretty open. It seemed like before maybe the county surveyor, he didn't really feel one way or the other, it seemed
Well, I'm
like.
sure they'd be happy for us to take it over.
Right, like take them, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that reservoir on 132. We're waiting to it dry up so we can, counties want to pay to replace it, that culvert on where it dips. Well, we've got that, but Frederick is waiting for it to dry up, but I mean, we need to, because it's getting worse. I mean, we need to, if they can't get the water diverted, we've got to get our culvert in.
Can you show me that tomorrow?
Now is the actual legal drain crushed under that
The culvert is caved.
culvert?
The culvert there, now their drain, they just want to repair it while we was in there. Not saying it's bad, but it's flowing, like, they went out, I don't know, when it was dry, and they said there was just too much water, so, I mean, that's kind of what Fredericks is waiting on to get that done. But it's like, we need, you know, we can't keep waiting. I mean, that's our liability if something that ends up, that culvert collapses.
Yeah.
That's
But
good.
so is there a clay tile under that culvert?
On the culvert,
Like where Rosa Fry crosses under old 132? I thought there was
yeah, I'm not sure what material it is. Ours is just like a steel culvert is what it is. And I
up
know,
at this, but that's at the surface, right?
yeah, but I'm
But
not
like
sure
below
what-
it is the clay pipe.
Yeah, there I'm not sure on that.
Because Mingles Field will set for weeks and weeks at a time holding water.
Yeah.
So my question was, so Fredericks, are they under contract?
Yeah, we've got them, they're ready to do, they've got the pipe in and all that ready to do it.
We do
So
have, oh, go ahead.
No, so I guess, so is the county involved at all with that, or is that our surface pipe that we're doing?
It's our surface pipe that we're doing, but we're gonna be working with the county so that they can replace their tile when we go in to replace.
That's what I
ours.
was saying.
Yeah.
If there's repairs that can be made beneath, that
Yes.
probably should happen at the same time.
Yeah, Cook has been working with Angie up at the county on trying to coordinate that, and they're gonna pay for their part, we're gonna pay for our part, but we're hiring one contractor to do all the work.
Sounds good.
Mhm. And we did get a couple estimates on that, so we were
Yeah.
going with the lower estimate of the two that we received.
What was the estimate?
25?
Yeah.
25,000?
Yeah, it was 6 cheaper
Then-
the other.
Any other?
I guess we should ask if there's any comments from the public. Anybody?
There
on the
is. I
panel?
was gonna say, we have one member of the public here.
Okay.
We have Chris Tallman. So if you wanna, I guess, either come and sit and be on this, or if you wanna stand, it's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with.
Hey, Kyle. Hey, Ford. My name's Chris Tallman. I live at 316 Dogwood Drive. Most of you are probably very familiar with me when we were talking about the brand new addition that's up there off of Pendleton Avenue. Additionally, there's a new addition that's called the Falls that's been developed out. I've been here on meetings with that as well. Specifically, I want to be talking and addressing the issue that we have. About 10 years ago, town of Pendleton agreed to allow the Falls to hook into the detention pond that is in the back portion of the Deerfield. That is a privately owned pond. It's not privately owned. It is not a homeowner association situation either. We have 11 people that live on that pond and own that pond. During the time 10 years ago, there's probably 3 or 4 houses that were actually fully built out. So that means the majority of houses were owned, or the plots were still owned by the company that is actually developing the falls. So of course they came in and said, hey, this is great. We have engineers come out and tell us that we hook in this stormwater drain, it shouldn't be any problem. Well, 10, 15 years down the road, we've got, silt. We've got a very poorly designed pond to begin with. There's no 4-foot barrier like it's supposed to be at all the rest of the ponds that are being built today. So basically it just drops down into the water. Now the stormwater comes from the back portion of the pines and drops into there, plus the falls. Now, since that connection back in March of 19, we've had nothing but silt, debris, gasoline, oil. I mean, everything from that development has dumped into that pond. I can guarantee you that they've added 6 to 8 inches of silt into our pond now. Recently, we also have the outbound culvert that is behind 307, I can't remember, the back, Tamarack Court, I think is what it is. And the culvert entrance pipe off of our pond has actually fell backwards. So it is actually broken the surface up top, and the water has been falling down into that culvert and then eroding, not going into the pipe properly. I've had conversations, email conversations. I also understand that our city engineer's been out there twice. And the proposal that has been given is that instead of just repairing the situation, they want to raise the culvert by a foot. Well, all that's doing is putting a Band-Aid on an ugly freaking shit. We need to get this fixed. We need to get this resolved. The issue that we have is that pond is at the very deepest, probably about maybe 4 foot, maybe 6 foot if you got out there. We have about 2.5 feet of silt. Because I've been out there on that pond, I've stuck a stick all the way down in there. I can feel where it hits, and I can continue to push down until I get really hard clay. There's probably 2 foot of silt in that pond. You guys raise that culvert, you're going to have more water. You're going to have more water pressure. You're going to have the overflow is already right now. If we have a good rain like we did the other day on the 28th, I went out there and that culvert was completely underwater. There's a great big whirlpool happening. This is not the first time that's happened, but ever since that connection for falls, we've had this problem. My recommendation is to not do this, not raise that culvert level up. You're going to destroy, people out there put riprap, 4 foot of riprap, 2 that's below water, probably 2 that's above. When you have this culvert raised, you're going to raise that level of the water and water pressure, and all of that riprap's going to be gone. You're not going to see it.
So
Now,
you're talking about raising the outlet structure in the southeast corner?
Yes, sir. That's it, Kyle.
Yeah.
And I've sent an email out to all my neighbors and told them about the situation. I've told them to call. I've told them to email, because we're creating a problem, I think, by doing this. Maybe I'm wrong. Somebody show me the engineering report that says that by raising it, there's not going to be a problem. But with the culvert, to the right of the culvert, if you're looking at it, there's the overflow swell, just in case, the emergency swell, if the culvert, fails. If you raise that level up, that is now less than probably a foot, maybe 2 foot at the top, if you raise that up by another foot. Well, if we have a good storm, like we did, that water level raises by 4 to 5 feet every time it has a good storm. You're going to go right over that overflow. You're going to break away all the land that's there. Then you're going to have a great big ditch, and that's how the water's going to exit that pond. I've been asking and pleading the developer of that new place over there to find out if they're going to have a homeowner association. Because if they do, then maybe we can get an LLC built, have them put money into that, so that we can have them help maintain that pond. Well, they have the bylaws, they have it in the deeds to have one, but they probably won't. So we need to get a solution. We need to get a solution as soon as possible. Culvert's broken now, it's only going to get worse. And I can guarantee you that if we do the raising of the level, we might have some additional problems. Some of us do have basements, by the way, next to this pond. My basement's pretty dry. If you raise that water table in that pond, would that raise the water table around those houses that have basements and then create additional water inlet into those basements as well? Now, over the past year, I've also created a dock out there. So now, if you guys raise the water, my $5,000–6,000 dock that I just put in is going to be underwater. Who's going to pay to get that lifted up? Who's going to pay to replace all the riprap or add riprap if we raise that level of that pond? Now, additionally, I've done studies with several companies that do dredging. Now, there's mechanical dredging that you can come in and just, wipe out all the sediment that's down there. Problem with that is, then what do you do with the sediment? How do you get rid of it properly? And on top of that, while you're doing this, you're killing all the life that's in there to begin with. For that, I got somebody that said that he'll do it. It'll cost probably about $120,000 to do it. Well, we got 11 people that live on that pond. I don't know that any of us have $10,000 sitting around. Now, there's another company that has mechanical dredging that actually sit on top of the pond. And what it does is it has a tiller that sits down on it, sucks it up into a tube, and it puts it into a geotextile bag. And what that does is it doesn't really destroy the plant life. It doesn't really destroy the wildlife that's in the pond already. And matter of fact, what it does is it takes all that silt, puts it in the geotextile bag, captures it, and then brings the water back in. Now, the issue with that is that's $100,000. And we would have to get permission from the city to use the adjacent property that is now right behind the cemetery that's now farmland right now. We would have to use that property for that geotextile bag. Once the geotextile bag gets dry, then we have to have mechanical movers come in and actually bury it or break that open and recultivate that into the land.
So was the initial intent of the Falls to use that pond? That was their initial intent?
Yep.
And is their grade higher than everybody else around them? It
Yep.
seems to be.
Yeah. And
that was my other question. Is I feel like they've created an extra problem for
They absolutely have, and I've been trying to get the owners of the property, the guy that's running the show, to do something about it. I've called the state, I've called the United States government about it. Luckily, you guys have been out there. Madison County's been out there, but the amount of silt that has been introduced in that pond is just ridiculous. Every time it rains, there's mud. Every time.
I'm going to allow Christy Organ to talk right now. I think she probably would like to have a couple comments on this too. And I don't mean to put pressure on people. We do have a plan commission meeting scheduled at 7. So if we need to continue this discussion, we absolutely will. But we do have to be on time with our 7 o'clock meeting. So
Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks.
Christy.
Hi.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Christy Organ. I also live on the pond. I live across from Chris. And my husband and I own a large part of the pond, as a matter of fact, because our home is diagonal. So we own a really large part of the pond. And we have steps that go down, and I have suffered cancer, and I hand laid all of my riprap. It was very therapeutic for me while I was going through my cancer treatments. So it is devastating to think that I'm going to lose all that. I put we paid for all that rock, and I hand laid it. It was like a jigsaw puzzle. And it's devastating the way our pond looks. And It didn't used to look that way. The year after we moved here, I had steps put in that go down to it, and my intention was to put in a dock. And actually, I emailed Chris about that, not even knowing that this meeting was happening tonight. It was prior to his email even going out, because I want to put a dock out there like his. But I'm not going to do that again if this is going to happen, because it wouldn't survive. I would be wasting money like he is obviously. And we have a basement as well, and our basement did flood 2 years ago, and it was awful. And that was shortly after the culvert was put in. And so if this continues, and it's only going to get worse with the new issue, our basement is going to flood again. And we have a fully finished basement. It's rather large. Our oldest son is autistic, and that basement was made specifically for him. It has a master bedroom down there with his own bathroom. It has his own living room. He has staff that comes in twice a week that helps him. That's his living area. He lost that living area when our basement flooded for quite a while we had to have it recarpeted and everything. That was devastating for him because he has to have a routine. So if it floods again and we have to go through that, it's not going to be an easy transition for him. So, I mean, Chris has done a great job trying to keep all of us on the pond updated with what's going on. And no, I don't, because of my cancer treatments, I don't have $10,000 laying around. I mean, I want the pond built. I've even asked if there was, my husband and I would buy the materials because he has heart condition. He really couldn't do it. And we were going to have, I jokingly asked Chris, do you want to do it? Because we want one built, because that is, you know, I love the pond. That's why we bought this house. That's why we had this house built, was because I love the pond. I mean, eventually we all want fountains out there, but it's not going to do any good to put any more money into the pond. It's ruined our property values. I mean, it's ridiculous. We have several people that have sold their homes on this pond just because what's happened. So I just wanted to further say, me as being, and I believe my husband looked it up once, we actually own the biggest part of the pond because of the way our house sits. And it's just not fair with the way it's been left and the damage that's been done to our pond and to our own property values.
Okay. Thank you, Christy.
No problem.
Kayla has been our staff lead on this. She can give a much deeper dive into what's been going on with our discussions with the developer of the falls. We have run into some issues with him, and we are trying to work through them as fast as we can. I think, you know, getting new town manager on board is really going to help us to focus on some of these issues that we've had that we haven't been able to take. We've had to be choosy about our projects, unfortunately. And I'm, you know, with the addition of Scott now, I think we will be able to work through these more quickly. So Chris, you know, you've been really great on sending emails and staying up with this, and we appreciate your patience with us. And we know you've had more than enough patience with us as we've been working through this, and we appreciate it. Your demeanor has been super respectful through the whole thing, and that just is very great as staff to receive that from you. And so we know we need to do a good job for you guys too. And I know there's going to be parts and pieces of this that the town does need to make sure we're doing right. And then as homeowners, you guys have a piece in this too with the developers. So, and I know you're aware of that, but I think just for Christy to hear that from staff as well, we know we need to make sure that this is as right as possible, and it's not something that isn't not on our agenda. And then with Scott being around, we'll get him more up to date on what's been going on out there. It's definitely on our plate. So
yeah, that's really, I mean, that's the thing. I just wanted to come down here and do that because, you know, I know you guys are busy. I know that we've been going through some turmoil
yes.
as far as administration. I know people have gone and come and stuff. So I'm hoping that we get onto a really stable platform.
Yes.
I'm hoping that we can take this forward and that we move into a positive direction for everybody, even the developer. You know,
Yes.
I have nothing against them. I just want the issue looked at. Let's propose some resolutions. Let's get it in front of the homeowners. Let's get it in front of the city and figure it out.
Yes.
We'll work together to fix the issue, hopefully.
Agreed. Okay, I'm gonna ask if we can get this meeting adjourned so we can prep for our next one. Chris, we will definitely be in touch with you. And thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, I guess we have sorry, any further input?
Nope, that was it tonight.
Okay, all right, we'll go and adjourn the meeting.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, Jeremy.